So I'm going to be showing you how to make a large name sign with a smaller laser. I have a Glowforge Plus, and I make large name signs and nursery signs all the time. And this is how I do it. So I'm going to start with a name. I just made up a name. I'm going to get one of my favorite fonts. And I know that I want this sign to be 24 inches long. So I'm going to get it as close to 24 inches as I can. So there we go. Then I am going to weld it together. Okay. Then you zoom in and you look right here and you see these little connecting pieces that connects each letter to each other. So those are the places where your sign normally breaks. So what you want to do, you want to add an offset to this to make those little areas thicker to help, prevent breaking. So you click this little star up here at the top and you just give it some time to load. Okay, it went away, but you can click this star on the side this time to bring that panel back up. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with these numbers to get my offset where I want it to be. I actually like where it is right now, so I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to take out my original one and delete. Okay. So it is a little bit bigger than 24 because the offset makes it a little bit wider. So I'm taking it right back down to 24. And then I'm going to duplicate it. Okay. So now we are ready to go. I'm going to show you with this one why you don't want to use this knife tool to cut your lines. So let's say we are ready to cut it and we're going to use this little knife to cut our pieces. Let me use the straight one. Okay, if we zoom in here, let me turn those red lines off here. You see how you can see in between there? When you use that knife tool, it cuts part of whatever you're cutting. So there's actually space in between here. And I've tried that when I first started making these signs. And what happens is your pieces don't line up straight. And so you can actually see so visibly where it's cut because they don't line up and glue together right. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to edit those points. And when we edit those points, we're going to break them apart and then put them back together so that everything fits together perfectly. And I'm going to show you how we do that. So let me make another one of these. I don't like having, well, you know what? I need those lines. I really don't like having my lines turned on, but I actually need them for when I break the points. And I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay. Now, this is going to be, hold on 1 second. Okay, this is going to be my bottom layer. So when I get ready to glue everything, this top one is going to go, or let's go ahead and make this one the bottom since it's already behind. So that the bottom one is just going to get glued right on top of there. And so that's how we're going to make it 1/2 inch thick instead of the 1/4 inch. And so since this is the bottom, it doesn't matter where you split it at because it's the bottom and no one is going to see the bottom. So we can zoom in here and we can double click and we can literally so what you do, you double click your name and these little points come up. And you want to find 2 adjacent points on opposite ends of the word. Just 2 adjacent. You don't want to use any of the points that's in these middle parts. You want the points to be adjacent. Now, you also don't want to use like a point here and that point because you have this opening. You want them to have a clean cut through the wood. So I'm going to use these 2 points here. Well, you know what? I'm going to do this one to be on the safe side since it's so close to that. And what you do, you'll click one, hold down your shift button, and click the other. And then you'll go over here to your point editing panel, and you'll click break path. And then you'll click off, and then you'll right click on the name, release compound path. Now you'll come over here and get you a line. Here's your line panel right here. And you want to make a line there. And then copy it and put another one here. Okay, so when you release compound path a minute ago, that made all these little inside pieces separate. So when you get ready to select everything, you want to go ahead and drag and be sure you get each little piece of that section. And then you want to hold down your shift and grab your line. Then you want to right click, make compound path. And then you'll do the exact same thing for the other side. Make compound path. And then I kind of bring them close together again so I can zoom in. Okay, then you'll double click on this one. And you'll just drag those red points to each other. And you only have to, when you have the points up, if you click on another thing one time, the points stay up on that one. So you click this one and do the same thing. But remember, before you can do this, you have to select it and then make compound path, and then those points will just, they'll connect like that. So now if it will fit, it will fit perfectly right there when you get ready to cut your wood. So that's the bottom layer. See how when I do my bottom layer, I don't care where I make my cut. Now, the reason for my top layer, the reason why I don't go through my letter like that is because that's a large area to try to hide. And so I do not go through these big parts like that because it's too large of an area to try to cover up with wood filler and sanding and stuff, and it normally you can see it. You can still see it. So what I do is, you want to make your next cut for this top layer. You don't want it close to, or really really close to that the bottom layer's cut. So think I am, and you can use your since we're using silhouette, we have this map for reference, or um you can use a rectangle for reference, and you can make your rectangle or your mat to be 19 by 11. So this is going to be my Glowforge bed. This is my Glowforge bed. And so that's going to cut there. And there we go. It all fits in nicely. So that's one sheet of wood. Okay, so then to see where I want to cut my next piece, you want to see how much will fit on a piece of on a sheet of wood. So you want to zoom into your makeshift Glowforge bed, and I think I'm gonna go with right here. So here's the trick that I use to make it make the seam, let's see, to make my seam not able to be seen. So I'm gonna use this little section right here. You want to use a point where one letter meets the next letter. One letter meets the next letter. So this would be my point that I go through to cut. So you double click, and the points are normally right there where you need them to be. Sometimes there'll be multiple points there, and you'll have to zoom in to be sure that you're grabbing the point of connection for these two letters. But right here you can see I have one point, and then I have another point. And you're going to break that path, click off, right click, release compound path. And so this is what's going to help make this name sign seamless. You go and you get your line again, and then copy it. And I'm done with that. So remember, you want to make sure you grab your pieces for the insides of your letters. Grab your line, and then you can make compound path, and then you can select all. Let me make sure I got the inside of that E. And then you want to right click again. Oh no. Right click, make compound path. So then you can double click that and drag your points to connect. And then right click here and then drag your points to connect. Same way we did the other one. Then when you get ready to connect your pieces, it will fit just like that. And having it at a connecting point, it's so much easier to hide that seam, because it's kind of like, I mean, even if you make a mistake or you don't hide it as well as you would like to, it kind of still flows together. It's not a big old huge cut in the middle of a letter. So there we go. We have both top and bottom. And you want to remember, the reason why I make my bottom in the middle like that is so that I can remember which one is my top. So I know that my top one is close to, it's at the end of a letter and at the beginning of another letter. And I know that my bottom layer is straight through like that. So that's how I get it ready to cut. And now we're ready to cut it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut two whole pieces of wood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this smaller for you, or for me. So that it can fit on a little sheet of wood, just so I can show you how to put it together. Okay, and I'm going to cut that like that, and I will record that part for you and get that added on here. And so I'll be back to show you how I put this together. Okay, so we have our letters, our name all cut out. Remember, we cut this down the middle of the letter. So this is going to be the bottom and this is the top. And so we're going to glue it on top of here like that. Yes, this name is much smaller than what I designed, but I didn't want to use 4 full sheets of wood. So I was just showing you, or 2 sheets. But I just want to show you, this is just like a little piece of wood, just so I can give you a demonstration of how to glue it together. And I like to take a Q-tip and kind of rub it around just to get it on there good. I just want to go step by step or piece by piece. And I really do think this is much easier when it's bigger. But again, this is just an example. So I get my these clips. I think I got these from Walmart and Lowe's. It's like a mix. They both came from Walmart and Lowe's. And then you just line it up, and as you line it up, you clamp. Now the thing with wood glue is it shifts. So when you clamp, sometimes your letter will move. So you got to be sure that you get it straight before you fully clamp it and let it sit. So after you clamp, sometimes it'll shift because the force of the clamp will shift it. You just want to take your time and line it up. And you can rub that excess glue off, or you can let it dry. After it dries, it's not hard to do this and peel it off, but I mean, it's easier to go ahead and rub it off as you go. Okay, so on the bigger signs, you probably will have to, because you'll have to like line it up all around for the bigger ones. So you'll probably have to let it sit for a little while for that part to dry before you start adding. Unless you have like 100 of these to do that. I do have more, but it's easier for me to do piece by piece just to be sure that nothing breaks or anything. Is so much easier because you don't want a full sheet of a full name with all of these heavy things on it, and the weight of it can break it. So just go step by step each piece and take your time. So we're gonna pretend like it's been maybe 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes in between each one. So that's that one. Then you'll just take your next top piece, because you don't have anything for this one to glue to yet. So the next step is to do that top piece. So you put your glue on the shortest side. And you just start clipping. Okay, and then we're gonna pretend like that is dry, and then you'll go ahead and add your last piece, and that'll be your bottom layer. Okay, then we'll let that sit. If you look inside of that A, there's some glue in there. I like to use like little small pieces of wood or paper or something to kind of get in there. And y'all don't pay attention to my dirty wood floor. I'll drop my little pieces when I take them out sometimes, and I have not cleaned this craft room. But yep, you just take you a little piece of something and go into these creases and pull that glue out. and you let it sit. Okay, we're gonna pretend like we let it sit, and this is what we end up with. So like I said, you let that next step sit for 20 to 30 minutes. And then you will, it's ready to go. You make sure you go through with your fingernail or whatever and peel any of those pieces of glue that's hardened on there. You can peel those right or snap those off. And so then you will you'll get a sander, and you can use a hand sander if you don't have an electric one. I use my electric one, but you can use a hand sander, and you just sand this down so that it's basically even. This section is even with that section, and then you'll use some wood filler, and you just get off in there and get your wood filler and get it kind of smooth, and make sure you before you get finished, you make sure you get all the wood filler from around the edges. Let me go grab some wood filler so I can show you. Okay, so my phone ended up dying while I was trying to show you the wood filler part, and I didn't even realize it had died. I kept on recording, and then noticed when I got ready to look at the recording that my phone was not recording anymore. So I'm going to show you what I did here on the back. Okay. So you just take a little wood filler. And so you'll do your first layer and you'll let it sit for about an hour or so. Go work on another project or something and let it sit and dry. And then you'll take your sander. You can use a hand sander or, like I said, an electric sander. Or you can just use sandpaper. And you'll just lightly sand that first layer. And then you'll go ahead and apply a second layer. Yeah, my wood filler kind of dried a little bit. So get your wood filler all on there, and then you'll take your finger and kind of lightly smooth it out. But you see how much area you had to cover, slitting it through the letter like that? That's a big area to try to hide and paint and pretend like that's not there. So that's why I do my cuts at the joining parts of your letters. So let's pretend like we let that sit. And so this is the one that I did yesterday when I was showing you this. And so and it's all smooth and ready to go. And so I'll get this painted, and let's see what it looks like.